Guys, in this video, we are going to be building a video calling app in React.js. This application works very similar to Google Meet. We can create a new meeting here and we can join a video call with anyone using this application. Before I show you how this application is working here, let's go to Google Meet and see how Google Meet works. So here in the browser, if I search for Google Meet, I can go to the first link here. So here on Google Meet, we have some options to create a new meeting. So I'm just going to create a new meeting, create a meeting for later. This is going to give me a link to the meeting, so I can copy that link, go to that link in my browser. So that's going to take me to the preview that is shown before we join the meeting here. So we have some options here to change the camera, to turn off the camera, to change our microphone, and do all the adjustments before we go ahead and join the meeting. So that's how Google Meet works. Now let's go to our application and see how our React application works. So I'm just going to close this window, go back to my React application. So here in my React application, let's say that I'm having a session on React.js. So I'm just going to name this meeting as React.js and create a new meeting. So as soon as I create a new meeting, the meeting, it's showing me the preview of how the video call is going to look like. I have some options here in the settings. I can change my camera, I can change my audio device, and I can turn off my camera and microphone before joining the meeting if I want to. And I can also turn it back on. And here I have a meeting link that I will be able to share with any of my friends or colleagues who want to join the meeting. So let me go ahead and join the meeting as user one. So I'm just going to join the meeting here. So once I join the meeting, I'm already in the video call. So that's the layout I'm going to see once I join the meeting. So here at the top, I've put a logo of React here, and here I can see some options. So here in the settings, I can see the options to change the audio and the camera. And I also have an option to chat with other users during the call. So as of now, I am the only one joined here. So you can see here that the user one is joined in the meeting. So during the video call, I also have an option to share a screen with the other users. It's very similar to Google Meet. So guys, now let me open this meeting link in another tab and join this meeting as user 2. So here I'm just going to turn off my microphone and join the meeting as user 2. I can also turn off my camera so I don't see two cameras. So I'm just going to join this meeting as user 2. Join. So guys, on this tab I'm joined as user 1, and on the other tab I'm joined as user 2. So from here I'm just going to try and send a message to user 2. So I'm just going to say, hello, I am user 2, and I'm just going to send a message here and see on the other tab if user 2 has successfully received my message. So here on the user 2 screen, I can see that user 2 has received my message successfully. So I can also send a message to user 1 from here and say that, hey, I'm user 1. So let's go to the another tab and see if other user has received my message. So here on the screen, we can see that we have received a message. So basically our chat feature is working fine in this application. So basically this application is going to work exactly as Google Meet. And we are going to be building this application from scratch in this video. So guys, stay tuned till the end of the video. Subscribe to the channel if you haven't done so. So now I'm just going to exit this meeting here and go to my home screen of the application. Now let's go to Visual Studio Code and start coding this application from scratch. So guys, before we start coding this application, let's have a look at the documentation of API and services that we are going to be using in this application. So we are going to be building this application by using a service called ZEGOCLOUD. So let's open a new browser here and search for ZEGOCLOUD. So we should be able to find the ZEGOCLOUD website here at the top. So I'm just going to click on ZEGOCLOUD. So guys, ZEGOCLOUD is basically a platform that is providing API and services to build different features in our application, like video calling feature, voice call, or if I want to have a live chat feature in my website, I can do that using ZEGOCLOUD API. I can also build something like cloud recording app, and we can also add some AI effects to our video calling or cloud recording apps using ZEGOCLOUD. So they have a very comprehensive documentation on each of the APIs that are available on ZEGOCLOUD. Because in this video, we are building a video calling app. So I'm just going to click on video call here and go to the documentation that I'm going to need to build a video calling app in React. So here on this page, here at the tabs, I should be able to find the UI kits that I have to use to build a video calling app. So here under the UI kits, I'm just going to click on call kit. And this is going to take me to the documentation, which can be helpful to build video calling apps. So this documentation is available for different platforms, because in this video we are using React to build the application. So I'm just going to look at web-based JavaScript documentation. And here on the tabs, I'm going to be using an NPM package to build this application. So I'm going to be using an NPM package manager. So this is going to take me to the documentation that I can use to build this application. So here in this documentation, they have explained step by step how to build this application in React. So basically we have to install the npm package first, and then we can use their pre-built React component to build all the video calling features in our application. And if I scroll down a little bit, here are some of the examples where they have documented every parameter that can be passed to the components that are available through ZEGOCLOUD npm package. So it's a very comprehensive documentation. You can read more into it, but in this video I'm going to be explaining this step by step, and we are going to be building this application from scratch. So to start building, basically you have to make an account on ZEGOCLOUD, which I've already done. So as soon as you sign up to ZEGOCLOUD, you will land on this kind of dashboard. So as soon as you sign up to ZEGOCLOUD, you will get a 10,000 minutes of video calling for free. So we are going to be using our free trial to build this application and test it. We have to create a new project here and get the API keys from ZEGOCLOUD, and then we can start building this project in React. So I'm just going to create a new project here. So you can create a different kind of projects based on the type of application you are building. So for example, if I'm building a live streaming application, I'm going to be using this. But in this video, I'm using this one, which is a voice and video call application. So I'm just going to click on that. And here at the bottom, I'm just going to click on next. I can name the project. I can name it as first video calling app. So this is my first video calling app that I'm going to be creating. So here at the bottom, we are going to be starting with the UI kits. So basically what it means is we are going to be using a pre-built components provided by ZEGOCLOUD, which can be used in our React application. So I'm just going to start with the UI kits. So if I'm going to click on UI kits, so this is going to take a few seconds to create a project. So once the project is created, this is going to ask what kind of application we are building. Are we building an Android application or the web application? So in this video, we are going to be building a web application. So I'm just going to select on web application, and here, and that's it. Here at the bottom, I can save and start to integrate. So this is just giving me a preview of how the React component is going to look like on the screen. We have already seen the React component that is available in the documentation here. So this is just for the information. So that's it. I'm just going to get the config file and start integrating ZEGOCLOUD into my React application. So once the project is created, it's going to create an app ID and the server secret. And we are going to need these two details in our React application. So I'm not going to be sharing my app ID and server secret in this video. So once you have signed up and created an application, you have the app ID and the server secret from ZEGOCLOUD. That means we are ready to build our application in React. At this point, we can jump on to Visual Studio Code and start building this application. So guys, I have a new React application running here in my browser. And I also have a sample application which is running here. So we are going to try and replicate this video calling application into our new React application. So let's go to Visual Studio Code and build this application from scratch. So I'm here in my Visual Studio Code and I have a new React application here. To start building this application from scratch, I'm just going to remove all the default code that we have here, and we can put hello world. And the first thing we have to do to start building this application is to install all the required packages that we are going to need in this application. So in the sample application, we can see that we have basically two components. So one is this component, which has a text field and it has a button to create a room. And the second component we have here is this one, which is having all the video calling features. So in the first component, I'll be using a package called Material UI to build this text field and the button. And in the video calling component, we are going to be using a ZEGOCLOUD npm package. So let's open a new tab here and search for Material UI install. This is going to take us to the link to install Material UI. So I'm just going to click on that. And here I should be able to find the command to install Material UI in my application. So I'm just going to copy that and go back to my React application, open a new terminal here and install Material UI into my application. So now Material UI has been installed into our application. We also have to install ZEGOCLOUD in this application. So let's go to the browser again and search for ZEGOCLOUD. And here in ZEGOCLOUD, I should be able to find the documentation in the video call UI kits. I can go to call kit. So that's the documentation which will guide us on how to install ZEGOCLOUD into our application. So that's where we are going to find the npm package. So I'm just going to leave a link to this documentation in the description. So here I'm just going to copy this npm command to install ZEGOCLOUD in my application. So let's go to Visual Studio Code again, and in the terminal I'm just going to copy this command to install ZEGOCLOUD. So guys, now we have installed two packages in our application. One of them is Material UI and the second one is ZEGOCLOUD. And we are also going to need React Router DOM in this application. So I'm just going to run a command to install React Router DOM. So that's the third package that we are going to need in this application. So guys, now I have installed 3 packages: ZEGOCLOUD, Material UI, and React Router DOM. So in this application, I'm also using one more package, that is UUID. So if you search for UUID npm, you will be able to find this package here. I'm just going to open this documentation. And here I'm just going to copy this command and install UUID in my application. So I'm just going to explain while building the application why we need this package. As of now, we are just going to install it and see later how we will be using this package in our application. So I'm just going to install that. That's my fourth npm package. So guys, now we have installed all the packages and we have a hello world application running in the browser. So that's our hello world application. So now that we have all the packages installed, we can start building this application from scratch. So here under the source directory, I'm just going to create another folder, that is components. And under this folder, I'm just going to create 2 components. One of them is going to be create meeting, which is a landing page of this application. And the second component is going to have all the video calling features. So I'm just going to name it as videocall.js. So here under create meeting component, let's create this component and name it as create meeting. So as of now, we are just creating a boilerplate and we are going to come back to this and design this component. For now, we are just going to create this as a boilerplate. And here under the video call, I'm just going to create a video call component, which is going to be named as video call. So now we have 2 components in this application. I'll go to my app.js, and here in app.js, I'm just going to import video call, and I'm also going to import create meeting. So I've created 2 components and I have imported them into my app.js. So now in app.js, we are going to set up a React Router DOM, and we are going to create 2 links which are going to be rendering these 2 components. So let's set up a React Router DOM in this application. So here I'm just going to make some imports from React Router DOM. So let's import routes from React Router DOM, and we are also going to import route, and we are going to import browser router as router. So now we have a router imported here. We also have routes, and we can create 2 routes in this application. One of them is going to lead to this component, and the second one is going to lead to this component. So here I'm just going to remove this hello world and create a router component. So we are going to wrap this entire application under router. Under the router, I'm just going to create routes, and under the routes, I'm just going to create my first route, and the path for the first route is going to be the home page, and the element that is going to be rendered is going to be create meeting. So my landing page is going to render this component, create meeting. So I'm just going to copy this route and create one more, and this route is going to be /room. So my second route is going to render the video call components. So I'm just going to replace it with video call. Let's make them a self-closing components, so it's easy to read. So I'm just going to delete this and make them as a self-closing components. Let's go to the browser and see how our application is looking right now. So here in the browser, I can see that on the home page, I'm rendering this create meeting component. And if I go to /room, I should be able to see my video call component here. So that's the basic setup. We have a React Router DOM setup in our application. Now we can start designing these components. So I'm going to design this component by using Material UI, and for the video call component, we are going to be using ZEGOCLOUD API. So guys, we are going to try and design create meeting component using Material UI. So here in my React component, I'm just going to make some imports from Material UI. So I'm just going to import text field from Material UI, and we are also going to need a button. And the last thing we are going to need is a typography from Material UI. I still have a sample application that is running here in my browser. So we are going to try and replicate this component exactly into this application. So here in this application, because the create meeting component is being rendered on the home page, so I'm just going to go to the home page here. So we can see the create meeting text here. So here I'm just going to remove the default text from here, and inside this div tag, we are going to create a typography component. So here in this typography component, we can copy the exact text that we have here and put it into our application. So we can see that this text is visible here, but the formatting is not right. So here on the main div container, I'm just going to put some styling. So here we can put a style tag, and on the style tag, we can say that display is going to be flex direction on this main container is going to be column. And we are going to align the items in the center. And also we are going to justify all the content in this div tag to center. So now we can see that our text has moved to the center of the page horizontally, but we also want this text to be in the center vertically. So here in the main container div tag, I'm just going to give it a height of 100 VH. So this is going to bring the component in the center of the page. So to increase the text size here, I can assign the variant on this typography component. So here I'm just going to pass a property called variant, and we are going to make it as variant h3. So this is going to increase the size of the text here, and we are also going to say that the component is going to be h1. So this is going to be the h1 heading on our application. So same way, we are also going to need one more typography component, but for the second one, we are going to reduce the text size to h6, and this is going to be our heading 2. And we are going to change the text here. So this text is actually going to be this one. So I'm just going to copy that from my original application and change my text here. So now this is how our application is looking right now. But as of now, we can see that this text is still not coming in the center. So I'm just going to put another property here, that is text aligned to center. So this is going to bring all the text in the center of the page. This is looking better now. So now in the original application, we can see that we also have one text field, and then we have a button to create a meeting. So in this application, we have already imported text field here at the top. So I'm just going to place this component after my typography. So here I'm just going to place my text field. Let's save this. So now we can see the text field here. Here we are going to pass some parameters. So we are going to have a placeholder on this text field, which is going to say create meeting, or this can also say enter meeting ID. So we have a placeholder here, and we are also going to change the size of this text field to medium. So this is going to be a medium sized text field. And below the text field, we are also going to need one button. And this button is going to say create meeting. And on this button, we can say that variant should be contained. So we can see the solid background around this button. So now we have a text field here, we have a button, and now we are going to try and fix the layout of this. So basically what we want is our button to be appearing next to our text field in the same row. So I'm just going to enclose this two components, text field and button, into one div tag. So now these two components are enclosed within this div tag, and that's the reason create meeting button has shifted next to the text field. So now on this div tag, we can put some more styling here. I can say that display should be flex, and I can also give a gap, which is going to be 10 pixels. So this is just going to create a gap between the text field and the button. And we can also give some margin top to increase the margin from the text. So I'm just going to give a margin top here, and the margin top is going to be 5%. So this layout is looking good now. Now it's looking very similar to the original application that we have here. So basically the design of this component is ready. We have designed it completely using Material UI components. So the next thing that I want to do in this component is to put a event listener on this text field and the button. So basically when I'm going to type some meeting ID here, I want to save this information into a state variable, which we are going to create in this component. And we are going to call this state variable as room ID. And so here on the text field, I'm just going to place a on change event listener. So this is going to be listening to the event. And when somebody is typing something into this, I'm just going to set my room ID to event.target.value. So as of now, we do not have this state in our component. So here at the top, we are going to create a state variable. So this state variable is going to be room ID, and we are going to set room ID, and this is going to be using use state, and the default value is going to be empty string. So basically when I type some meeting ID into it, let's say I type a meeting ID as React JS. So this is going to create a room, and the room ID is going to be saved in the state variable. And when somebody is going to click on this button, I want the user to go to the second route on this application, that is /room. And when user is going to go to this route, we are also going to pass a room ID that user has entered on the first component here, like this. Room ID is equal to React JS. So basically we need to put a href tag on this button, which is going to be something like this. So this href tag is going to take the user to the second route, which is localhost 3001. That's where the application is running, and it's going to lead the user to /room. And here we are going to pass the room ID as a parameter, and this room ID is going to be coming from the state variable that we have created. So basically when user is going to click on this button, it's going to lead the user to this URL, and this URL will be having a room ID as a query parameter. So let's test it. Let's see how it works. So I'm just going to put some room ID here. Let's say I'm just going to create a room ABC and click on create meeting. So this is going to take us to the video call component, and here in the URL we can see that we have a room ID that is ABC. So whatever user has typed into the text field is going to be passed as a query parameter in the URL. And in the video call component, we should be able to access this query parameter and create a meeting. So in the next part, we are going to access the query parameter in the video call component, and we are going to design this video call component using ZEGOCLOUD API. To access the query parameter in this video call component, I'm just going to make some imports from React router DOM. So we are going to import use location hook from React router DOM. And here in the video call component, I'm just going to create a new variable called location. And this is going to be created by using a use location hook. So using this location, we will be able to access the query parameters here in the URL. So basically we are going to create another variable that is query parameters, and this is going to be using a method that is URL search parameters. And in this, we are going to pass location.search. So now that we have access to query parameters, we should be able to access the room ID from these query parameters by using a method that is query parameters.get. And here we have to get the room ID, and the variable should exactly match with the query parameter in the URL. So I'm just going to copy that from here and put it here. So let's save this. And for a moment, I'm just going to place my room ID here. So just to make sure I'm able to access the room ID properly. So if I do that, now we can see that I'm able to access the room ID, which is ABC. So let me try and change the room ID. So this time I'm just going to pass another room ID that is React JS. And if I click on create meeting, so I'm able to access whatever user is typing into the text field with the help of query parameters here in this component. So this is just to make sure that room ID we are able to access. We don't actually need that here. So here we are just going to need a div component, and we are going to put some styling on it, which is the width of this div component is going to be 100%, and the height is going to be 100 VH, which is a 100% of the vertical height of screen. So as of now, we have just accessed the room ID in this component, and we created a empty div component here. So now it's time to use ZEGOCLOUD to build the video calling component here. So for that, we have to make some imports from ZEGOCLOUD here. So I'm just going to import ZEGOCLOUD UI kit pre-built from ZEGOCLOUD. So that's the package we have already installed in this application. And we are also going to need one more import in this application, which is v4 from UUID. So UUID package also we have already installed in this application. We are going to discuss what exactly this package is going to do here. So UUID is basically a package that is used to generate random IDs. So let's say that I want to generate some random IDs here in the component. I'm just going to console.log, and here I'm just going to call my UUID function. So if I save this, I'll be able to see some ID here. So every time this function is being called, this is going to generate a new random ID. It's never going to repeat the ID. And these IDs we are going to need to assign a unique ID to our room and the user. So I'm just going to remove this console log from here. This was just for the example on UUID. So before we create a video call component here, we have to go to .env file, and here we have to create some env variables to save our ZEGOCLOUD app ID and secret. So I'm just going to create two env variables here. So this is going to be ZEGOCLOUD app ID, and the second one is going to be app secret. So I'm just going to save my app ID and secret that we got from ZEGOCLOUD. I'm not going to share app ID and secret in this video. You can sign into ZEGOCLOUD and get your own app ID and secret. So guys, I have already saved my app ID and secret in .env file. So here in the video call component, we are going to access the variables that we have created in .env. So here I'm just going to create my app ID, which is going to come from process.env.react app ZEGOCLOUD ID. So that's the variable that is present in .env file. So same way, I'm also going to create my server secret, which is also going to come from process.env.ZEGOCLOUD secret. So guys, in this video call component, we do have access to the room ID that user is going to enter in this text field. We got app ID and server secret that is coming from .env file. And that's all we are going to need to start building video calling features in this component. Now let's create a simple function here, which I'm going to name it as my meeting. and this is going to be the async function, and it's going to receive a parameter that is going to be element. We are going to see in a while what exactly is this element. So I just created a simple async function here, and what I'm going to do is I'll just move this app ID and server secret inside this function. And I'm also going to create another variable that is kit token. So this is going to generate a token from ZEGOCLOUD API. For this, we are going to be using this package, that is ZEGOCLOUD UI kit pre-built, and we are going to be using a function that is generate kit token for test. So this is basically going to generate an access token from ZEGOCLOUD API. Using that access token, we will be able to build all the video calling features. So to generate a kit token, this function is going to accept some parameters, which is going to be app ID, and this is already defined in this component. And the second parameter is going to be server secret, and the third component is going to be room ID that user is going to enter in the text field here. And the fourth and fifth parameter is going to be the unique IDs, and we are going to generate unique IDs by using our UUID function. So basically we are generating two unique IDs. One of them is going to be used for the meeting ID and the other one is for the unique user ID. So that's all we are going to need to generate a kit token. So now that we have a kit token already generated, we are going to use that kit token to define another variable that we can call something that is going to be ZP. Basically we can call this variable anything. So we are going to be using this Zego UI kit pre-built package, and here we are going to be passing the kit token that we have already generated here. And using this variable, which is using the ZEGOCLOUD pre-built module, we are going to join the room. So we are going to say zp.join room, and inside this we are going to be passing some parameters. So basically this zp variable is going to create all the video calling layout and all the features that we have seen. That is something that ZEGOCLOUD is helping us to do very quickly. So inside this join room function, we are going to be passing an object which is going to have some properties, and the first property is going to be container, and this container we are going to be passing the element, and this is the element that we have passed to the my meeting function. So basically this container is telling the application where to render the video calling component, and here in the return we do have an empty div container. So we can pass the reference to this container, and the reference is going to be my meeting function. So basically this reference on the div tag is connecting our my meeting function to this div tag. So basically when my meeting function is going to generate all the pre-built component that is having all the video calling feature, that component is going to be rendered within this div tag, which is empty, but this function is doing all the magic to render all the video calling component inside this div tag. And there is one more parameter that we have to pass here, that is scenario, and scenario is going to be an object. And here we have to pass another property that is mode, and the mode of this application is going to be one-on-one call. So basically this defines how many users can join the video call. It can be one-on-one call or it can be group call depending on the kind of application you are building. So I'm just going to stick to one-on-one call in this application. So let's do that. So guys, now we are going to try and test this application in the browser. So here I'm just going to create a new meeting, and I'm going to call it React.js and click on create meeting. So I'm just getting an error here, and if I just inspect this error, go to my console. So here in the console, I can see that ZEGOCLOUD is giving an error that app ID should be a number. So we are just going to fix this error in our code. So here we are generating a kit token and we are passing the app ID. We are going to parse this app ID and convert it into integer before passing this. And if I save this, go back to my home page again. So now I'm just going to retest my application. Let's create a meeting React.js and click on create meeting. So this time we can see that meeting is created successfully. So that's the preview of the meeting before we join the meeting. So now if I join as user 1, you can see that I'm successfully able to join the meeting here. But I would like to make some more changes in this, because here in the preview, when we create the meeting as React.js, I'm not able to see any meeting link here. I want to see the meeting link here that I can copy from here and share it with the other teammates who wants to join the video call. So I'm just going to pass another parameter here in join room function, which is going to be shared links. This is going to be array of objects, which is going to take two parameters. The name is going to be, let's call it meeting link. And we are going to pass a URL as a second parameter. And this URL has to be the meeting link. So I'm just going to copy that from my browser, which is a meeting link, and paste it here. So only change I'm going to do in this URL is that I'm going to be passing this room ID dynamically, not static. So I'm just going to pass my room ID here. and here we are going to fix the error. So now we can see that we have made minor change in our application. We are able to see the meeting link, which I can directly copy from here and share it with anyone who wants to join the meeting. Now let's test it again. Join this meeting as user one. Join. So now you can see that this is working exactly similar to Google Meet. We have a chat window here and we can chat to all the participants. We do have an option to share the screen, and we also have options to turn on the mic or camera as we want it. So guys, that's all I wanted to cover in this video. I'll be leaving a link to my GitHub where you will be able to access this code. If you found a value in this video, leave a like, subscribe to the channel, and I'll see you in the next one.